control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. She's in my head wherever I go, controlling everything that I do. She's over me. She's over me. Feline with the claws in my heart. I can't let go, I'm breaking apart. Controlling me. Controlling me.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Paranormal Portal live stream. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of the memories.
Holy, the travels at least.
The trials, the travails,
trials.
tribulations. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to tweak my microphone or my earphone settings because I cranked them way up. But here we are. It is Wednesday night. We are streaming live here on YouTube, and we're thrilled you're here with us. And as, of course, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Don Longbeard, who is the shadow man waving back there, Bluff.
Hello.
He's the shadow man. So we are here, and thank you for being here. Hope you guys are all set for the holidays, whatever holidays you happen to observe, or no holidays. Maybe it's just a day off of work for you. Whatever
Sounds
it
like
is.
plan to me.
We'll take what we can get.
That's right.
But whatever the case is, welcome to the show. Welcome to another night of general Paranormal Portal mayhem. And I hope it goes well. We just never know, ladies and gentlemen. These live streams are kind of a learning curve for us. We're getting better, I think.
I think we are, yeah.
I think we're doing a little
Definitely.
bit better, right, Don?
Yep, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we're doing so well. We've got 10 people in the chat room already.
Welcome,
That's
everybody.
amazing.
Who you want to read out who's here?
Sure, yeah. Well, of course, we've got Sarah and Doc and Molly and Progeny of Light and Lewis and Ken. Let's see, I'm going to miss somebody. Lewis and Ken, I already said that. Pixie, hi, Pixie.
Pixie.
And then, so we're waiting for others, but, well, we'll not wait. We'll just go on.
We'll start the show anyway.
We'll just
but
go
we're
ahead
just,
and
you
roll
know,
and let the.
we're going to
the late
assume they'll
comers-
show up eventually. So those are just the people that are chatting, right?
Yeah, those are the people that I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if whoever, if you weren't named, thanks for being here. If you want to be named, just give a shout out in the chat room, and we'll welcome you to the show as well. But it's been a hell of a week so far. We've had about 2 feet of snow up here in the Pacific inland
Yes.
Northwest, and I'm here to tell you, I'm ready for spring.
Me too.
Anytime now, I'll be happy to get out my shorts and my flip flops and just call it a day.
There you go.
You know, I have to say, I don't mind the beauty of it. As I was telling you before the showdown, it's like I'm out there busting my tail, shoveling,
Right.
and I'm not having any kind of fun. But when I would stop and, catch my breath because I'm in such stellar shape, when I'm out there panting and looking around, I'm like, it really is pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
And it is. It's really postcard kind of pretty.
It is.
But it's just, it sucks the fun right out of it when you got to make paths through it.
Oh, yeah.
So people can actually walk around. And, I got the little minion, so his legs are like this long. And so, I got to create little paths for him to get anywhere. In fact, after I shoveled the first time, I walked with him to the store because it's walking distance,
Right.
usually. However, when he realized that it was up to his waist,
Yeah.
it became 0 on the fun meter, and he's like, carry me. And so here I am in my big pack boots, trudging through snow, carrying a little 40-some pound minion, trying to get to the store. But he was a trooper about it. I mean, he had a lot of fun, and it's okay. This stuff memories are made of,
Oh, yeah.
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 And I think my eldest son is paying attention tonight, too. Mr. Sheldon's out there somewhere.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So,
Excellent. Excellent.
yeah, it's a cool deal. But I hope you guys are all set for the holidays. I know some people are rather just forget them, but just try to keep in mind it's a whatever you believe. I know there's all kinds of spins on these holidays, and they're made commercial and they're whatever, but just keep them good in your heart. Have a good time with it. Just, think of it as closeness, togetherness. And you guys are just one big part of our family.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
and we love you all very much. And if you need to know what I'm expecting for Christmas, just send me an email at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. I'll give you my size. No, speaking of sizes, special thanks to Doc who ordered a sweatshirt. That was really cool. Thank you, sir. Is Doc in there, by the way?
Yeah, he's here. Yeah.
All right. Thanks again, Doc. I appreciate it. And to any of you others who've already ordered, thank you so much for the support. It really does help the show and helps us to eat some of the expenses of doing a show like this. There's, I never wanted to be the kind where I'm like panhandling, like give to the Lord, I'm not, I'm not ever wanting to be that. But when people do go out of their way, and that's why I'll never have a donate button
Right.
on anything, because I think that's pretty, here, just click the donate button and send me some money just because I'm, on a camera. But I try to at least have something of value to give back. And so that's what the shirts and hats are all about, is just, that you're not just throwing money at somebody. You're hopefully getting something that you'll enjoy. And it helps keep you warm in these cool, chilly days.
Hi, Dawn. Nice to see ya.
Oh, Dawn's here.
Dawn's
Great.
here.
Awesome. And, also up in this area, there was plenty of people, including our fearless leader, Mr. Gio, and you as well, that went without power.
Yeah, I was.
A lot of people lost power. I lost internet yesterday.
Oh my God, you lost internet.
did.
Oh
I was-
goodness. Oh gosh. Oh God forbid somebody lost internet.
It wasn't easy, but I made it, ladies and gentlemen.
14 hours without power.
14 hours without power. Yeah, no, that's what you guys had, and that's just you and your roommates were just like frozen.
Yeah, there was just grab a blanket and get cuddly because like it's gonna be a long freaking night.
That's the kind of roommate you got.
Well, I didn't mean together. Like dig in like ticks and get warm.
No, I mean it's been that is not uncommon for our area. Unfortunately, it's just I think that the power grid was probably put in the 1920s
Yeah.
and forgotten about after that. So
Well, I was wondering because we found out that everybody on the back half of our road, over by like where James Anthony lives, that everybody lost power on that side of the road.
wow.
And then we're talking about it. We find out, oh, hey, the lights just flickered. Oh, no. There they went.
They were flickering here too, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it was literally like I was thinking, oh, I'm trying to get the candles situated, trying to get flashlights situated, and extra layers to throw on just in case we were going to be.
Hey,
rough.
Brent, they're saying in the chat room that they can't hear you.
You can't hear me? How's that? Is that better? I'm just thrilled that you want to.
Pixie says, Brent, your mic needs to be turned up.
I'll turn it up. Well, thank you very much. How's that? Is that better? I should be louder
Come on,
now.
Pixie. Gosh, say something.
Well, there is a delay between me talking and them hearing.
That's true.
So you've got to account for the delay.
She says that's better.
All right, good. Sorry about that. I don't know. I didn't do a mic check before the show. I was kind of.
You were listening to music.
We were jamming. I like to listen to songs before the shows whenever we do a show because I just want to have my energy built up. I want to just make sure I'm giving you guys the best me I can give you, and sometimes that's not a whole lot. But
Mr. Geo just popped in. Hello, Mr. Geo.
Now it's official.
Now it's a show.
Yeah, now it's a show. Yeah, and in fact, I know they lost power at their house too. It was just I don't know what it is about this area, but I think they might want to upgrade the grid a little bit. And I don't know why they don't run that crap underground anyway. I don't know. I'm serious. I don't know enough about electricity to know why that doesn't happen, but it's like, here, let's run these power lines by this forest, and let's just see how it goes,
Right.
And it always happens in this area, especially where, there's old forest and man, it just takes a good breeze to come up and it snaps these things off.
Did you see the picture I posted last night about the tree on my driveway?
Yeah.
God, that was a pain in the butt. And there was a deer standing right behind it. When I looked down, I'm like, and the deer standing behind the tree, like, yeah, I did that.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, really?
Don's
Freezer.
Don's got Yeti deer.
I do.
Yeah, they push down trees. No, that was not a good deal. I was thinking about that. And I don't have a chainsaw, so it was no good for you. So
well, the odd part is I have two chainsaws, but for some reason one's not working right, and the other one has got a problem with the emergency stop bar.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't get them to work right now. So I just hooked it up to the back of my pickup and drug it the hell out of the way.
So that concludes this Paranormal Portal weather report. And we're going to move on to an actual paranormal discussion at some point here. But just wanted to say thank you all for tuning in, and so glad you're here. And I hope you guys are going to enjoy the show, whatever form this takes. It's always an adventure here on the Paranormal Portal, and we never know exactly what's going to happen
or how it's going to happen.
Or if it's going to happen at all.
Happen
just a word of advice. I don't know what it is, but sometimes my connection is not always the greatest, even though I have supposedly a really good connection. If the stream should drop for any reason, if it's pretty soon after we start, I'll always relaunch it. But if we're about an hour in and it drops, I'm just going to call it a show, just so you know. And I apologize in advance if that should happen. I'm working on getting a second computer to handle the streaming, and that should, I really believe it's my laptop. That's the problem. So it's doing a lot for a laptop, and it's a pretty good laptop. Don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't seem to have the video memory to be able to handle streaming very well. So, so that's just a word of caution. If that should happen, bear with us. We'll try to reconnect, but if it's into the show quite a ways, we'll post on Facebook what we're going to do or what's going to happen. So, excuse me. I'm getting a little froggy because I'm getting, I think, some kind of cold, but maybe not. I don't know.
Well, that's what happens when you get 21 inches of snow in 24 hours.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I just
spend all day shoveling.
I need to have like a beach and a fruity drink in my hand, and that's about it. I don't know. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Paranormal Portal, and this is the show where we talk about all things paranormal, so I suppose we should get on that, huh? So first of all, tonight I'm going to bring you some stories from thethoughtcatalog.com. And these are completely true stories that will make you sleep with the lights on. And it could be. I don't know. I don't know if excuse me, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cough right into the microphone, but yeah, I'm a pro. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pro. Yeah, I don't know. But let me read this first one. I don't know if I read. No, I don't think I did. I looked at this list and I was going to read it on Friday or Saturday show, but I didn't. I don't think I touched it. So let me read the first story here. It's called A Vacation Ghost. My parents were on their honeymoon to Key West. When they arrived at the hotel to check in, they were told that the room would be non-smoking. My dad being a smoker, they requested a different room. They got the room switch and went to their room. As they got off the elevator, the smell of fresh paint was overwhelming. Down the hall, there was a painter with all necessary supplies laid out around him and was painting the wall. As my parents passed him, they casually greeted him, and the painter had absolutely no acknowledgement of their presence. Whatever. Well, they went to their room. The smell of the paint was even worse in there, so bad it wasn't even bearable, so they decided to go to the front desk to change rooms again. When they explained the situation to the attendant looked very confused and informed them that there wasn't a scheduled paint job on that floor for that day, but agreed to change their room. My parents go back to their floor to grab their luggage, and the painter is completely gone. All supplies cleaned up and gone within 10 minutes, and the smell of paint was completely gone. At this point, my parents were freaked out but didn't think much of it and go to their new room. The next morning on their way to breakfast, they overheard a tour guide talking to a group. My parents tuned in when they mentioned the floor that they were originally supposed to stay on. Apparently, a long time ago, there was a painter on that floor painting and fell down the elevator shaft to his death. Now, my parents don't normally believe in the paranormal, but after an event like this, they had no explanation for it. It freaked them out a good bit. That is pretty cool, and I've heard of other situations like that, and one of them I think was on Celebrity Ghost Stories, and I can't remember the celebrity. Oh, it was one of the Baldwin brothers, and he checked into a room, or he checked into this hotel in somewhere up in Canada, I think, and he got off the elevator, and there, greeting him from the elevator, was this old 90-year-old looking guy that grabbed his bag and walked down the hallway. And the Baldwin brother said he tried to talk to him, but the guy didn't really respond or say anything. And he got to his room, and the bellhop guy put his bag in the door, and he said he turned around after fishing a 20 out of his pocket, turned around, and the guy was gone. Looked up and down the hallway. Nobody was there. But he swears that he got off the elevator, this guy grabbed his bag and carried it all the way to his room. So that's one hell of a manifestation. That is a truly amazing manifestation, to have not only the energy to appear physically there as much as anyone else, but to interact with objects. That to me is just incredibly profound.
Wow.
Right?
Nice.
So that's another story that seems to be in the same vein, ladies and gentlemen. I love those stories. All right, the rocking horse is the next one. One night, when I was maybe 10 to 12, I had trouble falling asleep. My bedroom was the entire top floor of our house, and my bed and such being on the left side, and storage closets and a play area being on the right. I was lying in my bed when I heard a noise from the other side of the room, and see a rocking horse begin to rock. It was sitting just outside of one of the storage closet doors. It proceeded to rock its way halfway across the room and stopped dead under the ceiling light. At this point, I was freaking out and just buried my head under my blankets and never peeked out again until morning. The blankets done.
I tell you, we got to get those made.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to make a set of Paranormal Portal bed sheets, which are clearly a true barrier against all things paranormal, because I can't tell you how many stories we've shared on this show where people, for some reason, are scared to death, so they go into ostrich mode and just hide. It's like, nothing's going to see me under these covers.
Right. Well, I wonder, we were talking to that gal today about the silk screening. I wonder if we could get some of those done up with that silk screen paint that she was talking about.
That would be something.
That would be cool. Then they'd be a little more economical.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, it depends on the paint and that kind of thing, but I'm pretty sure we could get a set out there for like, $60. I don't know. A
Well,
twin size sheet.
you heard it first here, ladies and gentlemen.
We'll see what we can do.
Don's
That's not a promise. We're
Don's-
just talking.
Don's
here.
even pricing them, so I don't know. I know bed sheets are just exorbitantly expensive if you want to get anything that's more than Kleenex.
Yeah, no
You
doubt.
know, it's
Yeah.
like if it has any kind of thread count at all, it's just like, oh my God, seriously? But I don't know. Apparently, it's because they can protect you against all things paranormal.
Yes, they can.
So there you have it. It'll be coming in the spring collection. I don't know.
The spring collection.
The spring collection.
Oh no, that's awesome.
Thank you. I'm here all night. All right. This one is my mom was almost abducted. My mother, who doesn't believe in any sort of hokey nonsense, once told me a story where one night her and a couple of friends were driving home one night after hanging out. No drugs or alcohol involved. They were crossing a bridge when suddenly their car died. And then all the streetlights cut off. And then they heard a throbbing sound like a large engine idling and saw a flash of lights cross overhead rapidly. A few moments later, all of the lights came back on, and then the car started back up immediately. A bit unnerving, they continued home. A few days later, the Pascagoula abduction story was on the news. Apparently, they encountered the same craft that supposedly took those two men.
Huh.
Are you familiar with that story?
No, I'm not.
I'm not either, but there's a there's a link here. I guess we could look at it. I don't recognize the name personally, but it says the Pascagoula abduction is an alleged UFO sighting and alien abduction to have occurred in 1973 when co-workers Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker claimed they were abducted by aliens while fishing near Pascagoula, Mississippi. Yes, I am familiar with that now that I've read it.
Yeah,
Okay.
now that I've read it and
Yeah,
I've read the names, yeah.
Right, and
that
they
makes
were
a little more sense,
they
yeah.
called the sheriff and he
Right.
picked him up and they gave him a examination and they even when they thought they were talking privately alone were like, what, do you think people are going to believe this? What people I don't know. They stayed with their story even when they didn't know anybody was listening.
Right.
But yeah, so apparently it was close for this mom as well. This one's called Worst Apartment Ever. I've lived in a few of them. Before I was born, my father and mother had a small apartment together. My mother told me once she went in the basement and saw a woman standing at the base of the steps just staring up at her. Okay, that's creepy. And then she just vanished. Oh, God.
There you go.
Then my father was in the shower one day with a sliding glass door that you can barely make out what's on the other side when a large figure walked up to the other side of the glass and banged on it, making it blow out.
Oh.
Jeez. My mother found him in the fetal position in the shower covered in glass, and no one was around. That is horrible. That last one made them move out. He confirmed it happened but doesn't like to talk about it. He's a relatively tough dude, so for something to scare him that much means a lot. Somewhere in between those two occurrences, they came home to find absolutely everything moved over about an inch, and they realized this because they're not very good at dusting.
They had clean spots on the floor, so they noticed it was moved. Oh, look, that's sure.
That's what the floor looks like.
Gosh.
Yeah, so everything was moved about an inch.
Jeez.
Maybe they should have cleaned better and they wouldn't have had stuff moved. It might have been a celestial hint or a spiritual hint.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like you might want to drag a vacuum in here once in a while.
Well, they're already moving the furniture for you. You might as well move the heck out.
Yeah, I know, right? All
They're
right.
like, here, let's help with this.
There was a little boy named Charlie in our house. My nephew lives with me in an old farmhouse built in the 1840s. When he was about 4, maybe 5, he told me that there was a little boy named Charlie who lived in our house. He said Charlie had never heard of video games and that Charlie's dad left him alone home all by himself. This is around the same time that he had an imaginary friend named Mr. Cat, who was an anthropomorphic cat, so I wrote it off. A couple of weeks later, I was shaving with the bathroom door open and thought I could hear or see my nephew kind of looking in at me out of the corner of my eye. I stuck my head around and could see him from behind messing with an old china cabinet we keep important stuff in just as I walked into the room. I could see my nephew sitting in the living room watching TV. He couldn't have crossed that much distance that fast or silently. Huh. I asked him about it, and he said, "Oh, yeah, that was Charlie. He says there's a really book. It says a really book in there from when you were a little boy. And at the bottom of a stack of old documents and stuff in the china cabinet is a book I got as a gift when I was a kid. I didn't even know it was there. It was under 2 boxes of documents that couldn't be seen until the boxes were lifted out. The little boy didn't look like you think of ghosts. He wasn't transparent. He didn't float, and he didn't look spooky. He just looked like a little kid. Now I'm convinced that people see ghosts, or whatever they are, every day and don't realize it because they look just as real as we do." You know, that's an interesting point. And I've thought about that as well. Like, you know, a lot of people report seeing ghosts that are in their death state. So they might be bloody, they might be burned, they might, you know, have pieces missing or whatever might have happened. But what about the ones that just manifest normally? I mean, is it possible that we do pass them by every day, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, do we even notice them as we do?
Right,
You know?
exactly. I mean, how many times, I can't tell you how many times have I said hello to people and, you know, they don't say anything back and I'm like, all right, well, I guess not, you know?
She's one of those.
Yeah, but what if what if they're like incarnate spirits or, you know,
Yeah, they
manifested spirits
Yeah,
that
they
really,
just aren't interacting.
yeah, wouldn't that be something, right? So rather than it being some rude hag, it's just
It's just a hag.
It's just it's just a spirit, you know. And I don't mean to sound flippant and stuff, but I'm serious. It's like, what if that were the case?
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to use the restroom.
What?
Yeah, I know. I guzzled that water, and now it's just like. I know my bladder feels like a balloon.
Like a balloon.
So
Okay, well, I guess we're going to go take a quick break.
it won't be long, ladies and gentlemen. I promise.
Okay.
I'll sprint if I
Alright.
have to.
Oh, boy.
But let me get a song.
Yeah, cue up a song. Hey, shout out to Regula. Nice to see you out there. Glad you can join us.
Hey, Regla.
She's talking about what's going on with her in the chat. I'm not going to go over it, but
Oh, cool.
we, Brent and I, of course, got good thoughts for you in all of that's happening with you.
Absolutely. Let me see. I think it's transitions is the good one. Okay. This is one that we used in the evidence review.
Cool.
All right. I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. I got better.
But it go better.
All right.
She turned me into a newt.
She turned me into a newt. Well, I got better. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am now better. I am now about 5 pounds lighter, but thank you.
Oh boy, the things that get shared.
You get what you pay for, ladies and gentlemen, and so far this is free, so the entertainment as well. That's better. Ooh. I'm telling you, it's just like all of a sudden, like I'm looking at the clock after every story, going, "Oh, this is gonna be tough.
do it. I can't
I don't think I'm gonna make it."
Oh, dang it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen, but I do feel better. So, for what that's worth, and I hope you do too. I hope you're enjoying the show for the little bit of show we've had so far. But I think we're on a good roll here. Thank you, Chris, for the feedback. I appreciate that. I think I'm familiar with that setting. I didn't know whether it should be on or off, but I will definitely tweak that at some point before the next stream. I don't know if I can do it in the middle of the stream or not. If it'll screw things up, I don't know.
With our luck, it would.
Exactly. Well, I have the Paranormal Portal candle going, so.
Wow. The protection against all things paranormal.
Oh, against all problematic issues.
For us, at least.
Yeah, so far.
Otherwise, you need a sheet set.
Yeah, I don't have a Paranormal Portal bed sheet, so just going to have to wing it.
Yep.
Just going to have to wing it, ladies and gentlemen. So the next story is called The Hand. I was 14 and sitting by myself in my living room playing some Halo, which is a video game for those of you who don't know. When I noticed that the room around me seemed oddly quiet, I paused the game and tried to listen for the difference. It was strange. My house is over 100 years old, and usually there's an odd creak audible from somewhere nearby. Not now, though. It was dead quiet. I felt strange, but not threatened. There was nothing sinister about the silence. I sat there for a few more minutes just listening. It almost felt peaceful, actually. Then suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder, very lightly and briefly. But even today, I still remember the distinct feeling of a hand on my shoulder. It didn't scare me, nor did I jump up in surprise. I actually felt a familiar presence, like family. I mentioned the experience to my mom, and she told me she'd experienced the same thing, only one room over. She says she felt her father's presence with the hand.
Wow.
Well, that's cool.
Nice.
Excuse me. Yes, I think, I know I've felt that sensation
Right.
of being touched before, but I don't know if it's truly a paranormal experience or if it's just a nerve thing where you get those weird muscle twitches. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of those. I guess, I don't discount that it's possible. I just don't know if I know what they're talking about in feeling something touch you, but I don't know if it's physiological or if it is actually paranormal. Have you ever felt that, Don?
Yeah, I definitely not so much. Well, I would have to say not so much people touching me. However, I have, had that, the brush, it's like somebody, gently brushing you, or something.
Do it
like
again.
That.
That felt good.
It goes,
Don't do
boy,
that.
oh
again.
boy, oh boy.
Okay, I was.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
No, I do know what you mean. I've felt that same thing as well, and I don't know. I just don't know if it's something of that nature or not. I just don't know.
Interesting.
You can't know everything, ladies and gentlemen, but we do tend to theorize quite a bit on the show, and that's all they are, is theories. I mean, there's no way to have any conclusive opinions because it's an inconclusive subject.
Oh, really? I thought there were paranormal experts out there.
Well, there are many people that think they're paranormal experts.
Maybe
They
they're
are
just
a lot of
paranormal.
self-professed experts, but
you
that's not necessarily one and the same.
Gotcha.
Something tried to possess me, or question mark. Something tried to possess me. It's a question, so I better phrase it like a question. Sorry, still a little froggy here, but my now ex-wife and I had just gotten married and moved into a new neighborhood. We moved in the winter. As spring came, we noticed there were multiple dead animals, birds, squirrels, raccoon, in the yard. That's weird.
Wow.
We cleaned them all up and started to do improvements to the outside of the house and painting on the inside. I started to notice strange things going on. Keys not where I left them, stuff like that. Small small things. I thought I was just being forgetful. Then things slowly started to escalate. While in bed, I could swear I could hear a barely audible or barely audible.
No, it says barley.
It says
That's
barley.
what it says.
It says barley, but it's supposed to be barely audible conversation, like a radio in a far room. As soon as I would try to focus on it, it would go away. I started to hear footsteps in the other end of the house. One night, while laying in bed, I hear a huge crash. Woke me up out of a dead sleep. I went into the kitchen and saw my kid's hamster cage on the floor about 15 feet from where it was. We would put it in the fridge at night because we had a cat and didn't want it getting to it. Now I know what you're thinking. Cat knocked it off, but this cage had to fly over a breakfast bar, excuse me, and a kitchen table to get to its resting place. Things got ugly. I would be sitting at home watching TV, and I would have this uncontrollable thought. What would it be like to be possessed? Or, I want to be possessed. Oh, dear God. Careful what you wish for. I couldn't get this thought out of my head. Couldn't concentrate on anything. But that I would literally have to say in my head, I love God, I love Jesus, over and over to get the original thought. Get off the original thought. I need to add that I'm not a religious person. As soon as I would leave the house, I would feel fine. Not one thought, but as soon as I pulled up into the driveway, it would start up again. Uncontrollable. I thought I was going crazy. I sat down with my wife and looked her deer in the eyes. It should be dead in the eyes. And said, I think I'm going crazy. I've been having weird thoughts. She turned white, and before I could say any more, she said, that you want to be possessed? Come to find out, for the past months, she had been having the exact same thoughts. Then we started to compare stories. She told me that she was laying in bed without me. I worked seconds at the time, and she could hear a man whispering through the baby monitor while our child was fussing.
Oh, boy.
Dear God. Creepy. Party of two. Needless to say, we moved out within the month. Ate the deposit. Her oldest daughter was still in school, and we had moved across town. I had to pick her up at that house at that house on my days off when she got dropped off by the bus. As soon as I turned the corner, I would get those thoughts. I would sit in my car in the driveway and not even go inside and wait. Wow. Now that is creepy.
Why would anything want? I want to be possessed? No, no.
Well, there is compulsion, and that is a real thing. And so perhaps by implanting those thoughts, it lowers the spiritual resistance to an actual possession. But that doesn't always mean demonic. And I do need to stress that, because there are transient spirits of all kinds that they miss life. They maybe got removed from life, or they were maybe so attached to the world, or don't want to move on. And so, they'll hang around hospitals, they'll hang around bars and try to, live through other people.
That's not exactly what I'd call vicarious living.
That's,
No.
yeah. No. But I mean, it's not, it's not just the sole territory of a demonic entity. It can be the territory of any kind of negative energy, whether it's used to be human or not.
Okay.
And so that's not unheard of in the paranormal circles. In again, I can only relate things that I've heard. I don't know any of these things for sure, because it's unknowable, I guess. At least at this point. So now until, maybe science someday will catch up with all this, and then we'll know exactly what these things are and what they're doing. But very creepy, though. Very creepy. This one is... It's called a legit sock demon.
Right on.
Is that like a sock puppet from hell or something?
I don't know.
What the hell is that? Okay, we're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen, because I haven't pre-read this, but it's a nice short story, so. A sock demon. It was like 2 a.m. I took off my clothes and went to sleep. A minute later, something hit me in my head. It was one of my socks. When I take them off, I throw them in the corner of my room, so someone threw it back at me. But there was no one in my room. Was alone 100%. May not sound so scary, but it was for me. That's hilarious.
It's a boomerang sock.
It might be from Ken's Australian socks. You take them off, you throw them in the corner, and they come back at you. Does that happen, Ken? You have to let us know in the chat, Ken.
Boomerang socks. You can make a bull roar out of it.
I was just, I can't even touch that at this point. My head went somewhere that I just can't follow verbally. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, there are demon socks apparently, or sock demons that don't like you casting your socks into a corner. So,
Pixie says all of her socks are holy, so she doesn't have to worry about demon socks.
but bump. Thank you. A little canned, but still funny. Thank you. Canned humor is good. It's still there, waiting. When I was 17, I went to my mate's house for some beers for his birthday. I probably had only about 5 drinks.
Is that it? Oh.
Only 5. Waney. Come the early hours of the morning, probably around 2 to 3 a.m., I head out to the kitchen for a drink. I pour a drink of water and turn around and take a sip. And as I'm swallowing, I swear I hear footsteps. The ground in my entire room is all made up of tiles. So I hold my drink down and listen for a few seconds. Next thing I know, I hear fast footsteps in front of me running towards me. And suddenly, a huge cold breeze blew right through me. At that point, I just freaked out and ran back for the bedroom. Grab your sheets. I ended up waking my friend up and telling him what had happened. And we listened and could hear odd bangs and bumps from out there. But nothing out of the ordinary after that ever happened. I'll still always remember it, though. Gives me goosebumps writing this. That would be, I think, probably a little unnerving. I've not experienced that. But if you heard like something walking and then all of a sudden it's picking up speed heading your direction and you can't hear it, that would be creepy. That would just be creepy. You right? Is it just right?
No. I'd be like, well, what the hell's going on? What? What the? Yeah, definitely. It's coming closer, faster and faster and faster.
Might have to scrape your underwear after that one. That's all I'm saying.
Code brown.
A warning is the next one. Or actually, did you have anything you wanted to read down?
What, did you want to take a break and give your voice a...
No, I'll finish this one and then
sure.
Why don't you take the next story or two?
Yeah.
All right, this one's called A Warning. Me and some friends had just graduated high school and wanted to do something fun now that we had some free time. We ended up going camping at this Native American land in California. This is already starting out bad. Don't camp on Native American sacred sites. Well, we spent like 2 days there and then packed up to go home. On our way out of the land, me and my friends started to joke around about the natives and said things like, drive faster before they shoot their arrows at us.
Oh, gee.
Okay. At this point, I'm like, he deserves whatever the hell has happened. And stuff like that. Then, out of nowhere, our car hits a bump as if we ran into something over. We stop and try to see if we hit an animal, and then we see it. It was like some screwed up, skinny, long-legged coyote. We start looking at each other, debating on what we should do, and then the coyote starts getting up, and we see its real size. It was massive. So me and my friends are already freaking out. I gotta paraphrase all of this. Yeah, edit for content. It was where am I? We see its real size. It was massive. So me and my friends are already freaking out at this moment. So we decide to get the heck out of there. It's not what it says at all, but that's what you're going to hear, ladies and gentlemen. Then we saw what we still don't bring up today. While leaving the scene, me and the driver hear our 2 friends in the back scream, and they shout, "Oh my God, get us out now." Me and the driver check our mirrors, and the coyote was walking off into the distance on its hind legs. We jammed faster out of that creepy land and didn't say a word till we got back on the freeway. To this day, I still think we might have been just seeing things, but it looked so real. This is the worst thing I can remember when it comes to things like this.
It's Wendigo.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a skinwalker. Yeah. I mean, not necessarily a Wendigo, but a skinwalker is what it sounds like. But, yeah. A lot of creepiness.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay. This one's real quick. Let me just read this one. Lessons learned in Montana. Oh, what? Is this the same one? It says, I learned some things since moving to Montana. Don't mess with a coyote. Steer clear of skinwalkers, and do not camp or hike near burial grounds.
Wow,
It might be the same story. I don't know.
that's weird. Yeah.
It's kind of separated. But anyway, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Words to live by.
Yep, absolutely.
Mr. Longbeard.
Hello.
Take
How
it
are
away,
you
sir.
today? All right, let's see here. You know what? There was one about last week. I was reading Saturday. I was reading about past lives, and there was one I wanted to read. It was about a World War II. Let's see here. Where did it? I was just looking at it, for God's sakes.
Back to
here
you,
we go.
Brent. Okay.
No, not back to you, Brent. Here we go. Okay. This one is child remembers past life as a World War II pilot. ID'd the vessel, crash site, and other details.
Ooh, go.
So it says, when James Leniger of Louisiana was 2 years old, he began having horrific nightmares of crashing in a plane. The boy said he was shot down by the Japanese, that his plane took off from the Natoma ship, and that he had a friend named Jack Larson. He also identified the site where he crashed, Iwo Jima, from a photograph. Iwo Jima is an island that the United States fought to capture in 1945. The Natoma was indeed involved in the battle for Iwo Jima. One pilot died in the battle. That pilot's named Jack Larson was also on the Natoma. Leniger started saying he was the third James. The pilot who died in the battle for Iwo Jima was named James Hudson Jr. That would make James Leniger the third James if he was the reincarnation of this pilot. This boy's case was recounted by Jim Tucker, Dr. Jim Tucker, at the University of Virginia, a leading reincarnation researcher. One skeptic writing for blog Skeptico noted that that the boy was taken to the military museum where he seemed transfixed by World War II aircraft shortly before his nightmares began, as reported by the Pittsburgh Daily Courier. The skeptic said this visit, rather than past life memories, may have caused the nightmare, and that that adults' encouragement to remember his past lives may have constructed this story. The blogger admits that it's difficult to explain the name the boy recalled, though essentially chalks it up to prompting from the adults. Prompting from the adults. I guess I can't read tonight. Dr. Tucker said the boy's father was an evangelical. Yes. Christian, who was completely resistant to the idea of reincarnation. Dr. Tucker takes into account parental enthusiasm when investigating reincarnation accounts, and has often found that children with enthusiastic parents nonetheless have amazing stories to tell. Interesting.
Very, very cool.
Wow. That was kind of a tough one to get out there.
But you did good.
Thank you.
Okay. This one's another skinwalker. There you go. More skinwalkers. And let's see. I think that's derived from a shamanistic tradition of Native American shamans or spiritual people being able to transform. And they're referred to often as skinwalkers. I think. I might be really butchering that now that I think about it, but I think that's true, that they're considered to be able to shift into people or into animals.
Right.
Or something in between.
Yeah, Lewis in the chat room says skinwalkers are usually like a coyote, but shapeshift into something bigger and scarier.
Could be, yeah. Could very well be.
I've heard of foxes also, though, as opposed to coyotes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably true. All right. My dad kind of had a similar experience. I told this a few days ago. This is the early 80s, and my sister lived in Toronto. And one day she decided to come down and see some old friends and visit with our parents. I wasn't born yet, who live in a rural area, all farm, country, and forest. She stayed late and left around 9 p.m. This was late fall, so nearly pitch black. But about 8 miles into the drive back to town, the car she borrowed broke down. Luckily, she broke down in front of a house. They let her use their phone to call Dad to come pick her up, and after he came down, the people let her park the car in the driveway until the next day. It was about 10 p.m. when they started driving back to my parents'. She just decided to stay the night after this. They went through a wooded area, trees as far as the eye can see on both sides, when suddenly they hear this incredibly loud, inhuman scream. This was louder than the car, even louder than the radio. Dad slammed on the brakes, and they were like, "What was that?" Then suddenly something appeared on the side of the road. It was a coyote. Only wily coyote. Only it was about 6 feet tall and walking upright on its hind legs. It crossed in front of the car and went to the other side of the road, and then that same scream happened again, only 10 times louder than before. Dad slammed on the accelerator and got out of there. He only told me this once, but the look on his face when he told me it, and knowing the kind of guy he is, I believe him. Yeah, it's amazing the variety of phenomenon that people report, and it just makes you. I just even though I've been doing this show for a long time, it's just the nature of reality is just so much more dynamic. It's just so much more dynamic than we have any clue of understanding. And just things like that. And granted, I can't vouch for any of the authenticity in any of these stories. But if even 1% of them are true, then there's a whole lot going on that we have no clue about.
Right.
This next one is called Ghost Grandpa. That's who. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Ghost Grandpa, that's who. My grandpa on my mom's side died way before I was born. At the time of his death, my parents had 3 children. At night, soon after death of my grandpa, my mom and dad were in their room lying on the bed, and she was crying to him, and she said, "Who's going to take Dustin, my oldest brother, fishing now?" Immediately after this happened, they heard the sound of glass breaking come from outside of their bedroom door. My dad grabs a shotgun, America, it says America, and leaves the bedroom to check things out. When he steps out of his room, he notices a picture frame lying face down on the floor. This picture frame was supposed to be above the fireplace about 30 feet away, or 20 feet away from his bedroom door. He picks it up, and it's a picture of my brother and my grandpa fishing. He put the house up for sale the next day.
Wow.
Huh. I guess
That's a little bit extreme.
It is, but it doesn't sound like a happy kind of thing. Like
True.
smashing the picture of Grandpa and the kid. Huh. I don't know. If that's a sign, it's a pretty intense sign. It says, "I saw a figure on my webcam. Took a picture on my old webcam, and there was a black humanoid-looking figure standing behind me. It absolutely scared the hell out of me, and some other strange occupancies have happened since." It says occupancies.
It does, yeah.
I have a black cat, and it was walking into the room, and then I saw it morph into a shadow of a human in one of the bedrooms.
Huh.
I went in, and the cat wasn't there. The weirdest, which I don't know to this point if it was real or not, is once I went downstairs and all of the cabinets were wide open and the front door was open. Also, I was home alone. What the hell was I just thinking about? As I was reading that, I thought about something. Oh my God, it went right out of my head again. Think. Oh, I know what it was. Remember we were watching that story or that video of that guy setting up his like Xbox Connect camera. Do you remember that?
Right.
And that he's going through the different settings and he hits this like purple kind of view, and all of a sudden there's a shadow person standing next to him, and it realizes that it's on camera, and then it just totally like fades away. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, we got to find that footage and use it on one of our streams, because I wanna show people that was really intense. I wonder if you can find it now. Do you think you could?
I'm looking for it.
Okay, we're looking for it, and during one of the breaks I'll try to set it up so you can You guys can see it, but it was really intense. I don't want to get any copyright strikes against our streams, but I don't know if that one's protected or not. This one is called The Cane. When I was a kid, I did yard work for this incredibly lovely old couple, and they told me that when they moved into their house, they had to empty out a few of the rooms and closets of the previous owner's stuff. After that, they heard bumping sounds like someone wandering around the house in the dark. They called the previous owners to ask if the sounds were a normal thing. Oh, you emptied out the upstairs closet, didn't you? Just put the cane back in the closet so he can see where he's going. Without it, he just stumbles around bumping into things and making noise. That's hilarious. They put the cane back and the noise stopped. They left it in the closet for over 30 years until they moved out. I was helping them clear the house when I saw this cane. It was pretty normal wooden cane with a rubber nub on it, but it had these scorch marks on the end like someone used it to poke at a fire. I then asked him if this was the cane. They smiled and nodded. That's funny. That is really funny.
Without it, he stumbles around.
Yeah. If he doesn't have his cane, he stumbles around bumping into
Pretty
things.
hilarious.
Wow. Who the hell would figure that out? Oh, that's so funny. Oh, it says, then they gave me the cane. Oh, funny. Never use a Ouija board is the next one, ladies and gentlemen. And Ouija boards it's one of those things, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you're going to use a Ouija board, just do some research so you know what you're doing. Because when you use a Ouija board, you are creating a channel, and usually it's a blind channel. You are the channel. And if you don't know how to protect yourself, you could be walking right into something negative. And the problem with a Ouija board is you really don't have a whole lot of control about what you could be summoning. So, again, I know a lot of people use them, no problem, cool, whatever. And I know other people have used them and had lots of problems. So my advice is not to not use them, but if you're going to use them, just definitely know what you're doing and know how to close a session correctly, because if you don't, you will leave a portal open. So just my 2 cents, but take it or leave it. I got the mic, so you get to hear it. So this one's called Never Use a Ouija Board. It started is how this started. I think it started when I got my Ouija board, and I never read the rules.
I never read the rules like it's a game.
Yes. Well, Don, it's recommended for ages 8 and up.
Yeah.
Your 8-year-old too can summon spirits.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, my friends were too chicken, so I did it alone. I talked to 2 people that day by myself. One was a little boy named Tim, who was disowned by his parents and died in a forest. The other presence was much darker, and for 2 questions I asked, it would reply death, which was not a valid answer. I got angry with the second one and yelled at it to prove its malicious nature to me. Nothing happened. I packed the board away, feeling as if maybe it was me the whole time, which is the common notion for disbelievers. But then the next 2 months happened. Between 3 and 4 a.m., I consistently woke up with terror sweats and felt as if I was being watched. About 50 days in, I woke to the most horrid screaming and a thud so loud I thought someone was breaking in. I jumped up and felt again like someone was in front of me, waiting, wanting me to die, and yet no sounds from my upstairs housemates. I got so scared and I quit sleeping at night. I would stay up until 6 a.m., at least to make sure that the ghost hour wouldn't affect me. But it came anyways, and I'll always remember what happened at 2 months. I was playing COD, Call of Duty, as typical for the past 2 weeks, and all of a sudden I got this cold chill on my back, and it went to my left shoulder, and then also onto the left side of my head. And I kid you not, I heard breathing in my ear. The pressure on my upper left side was as if someone or something was leaning its head on my shoulder. I was frightened to death, but I decided, screw this. I got up, swung my fists, and screamed, screw you and go away. It's kind of what he said. And after that night, it seemed to stay away. I don't know how all of this happened, especially when I was such a non-believer. Those months feel like a dream, but I do believe now that certain energies do manifest around us, and it's best to stay away from the evil, hurtful ones. I would agree. I would agree with that. The next one is, did you find that, by the way?
No, I'm not finding it.
Okay. All right. Thanks for checking. My dad saved my mom from beyond. This happened maybe 2 years ago. I was asleep taking a nap in the living room when I woke up to my dad saying, "Watch out for your mom." So I got up and went to look for my mom and found her passed out in the bathroom. She had really high blood pressure to the point where internal organs were in danger.
Oh, goodness.
We could get help fast enough so things could be settled with medications only. If my dad wouldn't have woken me up, things could have ended much worse. He died 5 years prior to that event from leukemia. Wow, that's cool. Dad put the tip out to help mom. This one's called Marines versus Ghosts. Wow. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm just making sure I'm catching everything.
All right. Well, I know you're kind of busy, and I'm sorry I can't man the chat at all.
No, you're good.
But if I run the chat on here, it's like streaming the stream back to myself on this computer definitely makes things run like hell. So it really helps that you can do it over there. So thank you for that, Mr. Longbeard.
You're very welcome.
So this is Marines versus Ghosts. My friend's dad is an ex-Marine. He has been a paramedic, firefighter, security guard, so there's practically nothing on earth that can frighten this man. Just say man.
I think it says mother.
Yeah, well, that's not all it says, but that's as much as we're going to repeat. His family used to live in a very old house built in the 1800s. One day my friend's dad was home alone waiting for the rest of the family to get back with dinner. Now this man is the most honest man I have ever met. There would be no reason to lie about this. He was sitting on the couch downstairs when he says he heard footsteps coming from upstairs. He walks down the main hallway and looks up to the balcony banister for the upstairs hallway. He then said that there was a shadow figure that glided across the upstairs railing from one side to the other until it was out of view. Right after he saw the supposed apparition, he heard the loudest, most blood-curdling scream he ever heard in his life. Immediately after this scream, all of the lights in the house went out, and he found himself standing in the pitch black. That's horrible.
That's not good.
That is horrible. He then ran out to the front porch and waited for the rest of the family to return. My buddy said that when they got back, he remembers the horrified look on his dad's face. He said he had never seen that look on him and has never seen it since. 2 weeks later, they were moved out of the house and moved closer to where I live, which is how we became friends. While the story still gives me the creeps, I can't be too upset because I got my best friend out of the ordeal.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's the silver lining, ladies and gentlemen. That's the silver lining right there. So we are at the hour. How you doing? Do you need a breakdown?
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, do you want to read?
Sure. Let me get this. I'm pasting the chat into a Word doc for you. So
Thank you. I forgot about that.
bear with, I just remembered myself. Let's see here.
Could you email those to me too?
Sure.
As much as I appreciate you doing it, I can't read them on your hard drive.
Oh, I can't read them on my hard drive either. I have to use the computer. Dang it.
Oh, witty. Thank you.
Let's see here.
Little
Okay.
cheek from the sidecar.
All right. So, sure, I got it. I got one I can go with. Let's do this. This one. Boy remembers jumping out of window of a flaming building.
Ooh, and we're into the past life stuff again?
Yes, back to the past life stuff again.
Sounds good.
It says, before I was a baby, I had black hair, said Luke, the 2-year-old son of insurance analyst Nick and his wife, Erica, in Cincinnati, Ohio. The couple passed this and similar comments off as just those being inexplicable, goodness,
Okay.
things that children say. But these statements added up, and they led the family down an interesting path of discovery. Luke's story was told on Ghost Inside My Child on A&E.
Oh, yeah.
Erica was putting on earrings the day that Luke told her, I used to have a pair like that when I was a girl. Whenever he came up with a girl's name for stuffed animals, all of those children's things, or those things children name, he would choose Pam. His mother was perplexed since she didn't know where he had heard the name and seemed like a strange choice. She finally asked him, who is Pam? He replied, I was. Well, I used to be. And then I died and went up to heaven. God pushed me back down. And when I woke up, I was a baby and you named me Luke. Not wanting to put any ideas in the boy's head, she did not mention Pam anymore. Nick was especially skeptical of any idea of past life, but has no such beliefs were fostered at home. When Luke was 4, he was watching TV and became upset seeing an explosion in a building. Erica turned the program off and told Luke it was okay and no one was hurt. He says, yeah, but I died and I don't like to think about it. It makes me sad. He said he remembers dying in a fire, that he jumped out of a window to escape the flames. His mother asked if it was like on TV, thinking he may have gotten the idea from what he was watching. He said it was different. There was no explosion like on TV, just a fire. He remembered that there was a fire in Chicago. He was certain it was in Chicago. A Google search of Pamela Chicago fire came up with a hit, said Erica, and it gave her the creeps. Pamela Robinson had died in 1993 in a fire at the Paxton Hotel in Chicago. She jumped from a window while the building was burning. Wow. Erica and Nick were shocked. They continued to seek confirmation. Robinson was an African American and it hadn't occurred to Erica that Luke's possible past life incarnation would have been a different race. Luke is Caucasian. Erica asked her son, what color was Pam's skin? Black, he replied without hesitation. The last piece of evidence was yet to come, and after hearing it, Nick described himself as bewildered. Erica printed out Robinson's photograph on a sheet of paper alongside several other photographs of other people and asked Luke if he recognized any of the faces. Pointing to Robinson, he said, that's Pam. He said he remembered the photo being taken, though it was at another time.
Wow. That is so profound.
That is crazy.
It is, right? I mean, those kind of things, they got to lead you to believe that there's something to this whole we come back.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? I mean, how could a child know these things? And there's so many stories like that of children remembering being in villages in different countries, and if the family can afford to bring them over there, that
right.
There's accounts of children being introduced to their own children from their life before and recognizing them and naming them. And it's like, that's so far beyond, what ever chance could throw out,
Right.
I mean, it's just not possible. There's no way that could be anything but, in my opinion anyway. I mean,
Sure.
I don't know.
Well, but then again, that's who you are. And it's interesting for me to read these things. Like there's another one that says children who seem to remember past lives as monks. Now, there's an interesting thought that's where I would think it would come from, or, that's where I think most people, children, because monks believe in reincarnation. Well, it depends on what kind of monk, but,
Sure.
I mean, obviously here we're talking about Buddhist monks. So, I mean, and it makes total sense if they're Buddhist. Let me say that, as opposed to a Caucasian child remembering that he used to be an African American woman in a different life. There's a whole lot of strange correlation to stories like that.
Yeah, there are.
So.
There are indeed, but like I said, reality is dynamic, and I stand by those words. Okay, the next story I want to read you is called "Don't Go After That Ball." Here's one. I had a good friend die when I was 10. Jeez, what an opening. We'll call him John. He died pretty tragically, too. He was hit by a car literally right in front of my house when he was chasing down a ball that bounced into the road. Fast forward 7 years, and I'm babysitting my little sister, and she is playing outside. I'm on the porch swing reading, and she's shooting hoops in a little Tykes hoop. The ball bounces out onto the road, and I look up to see her yell, "Don't go after that ball, John." Freaked the hell out of me. She never even knew about John. I asked her who John was, and she said that he would play with her sometimes outside. Wow. I can't read the title of the next one. We'll say, "Holy cow."
Holy cow.
My brother was getting to sleep one night, and it was about when he was about 13 or 14.
Okay.
I thought that was a time at first. The lights were off, doors closed, and he was settled with his eyes closed. All of a sudden, he gets the feeling that he's being watched by someone. The feeling becomes stronger and stronger, so he pulls the covers over his head. There you go. Curls into a ball, trying not to freak out. He even starts saying the Our Father prayer. He even starts saying the Our Father prayer. You mean the Lord's Prayer? When a few lines in, he hears a voice right next to his ear say, "That's not going to help you."
Oh,
Oh
boy.
my God.
Nice.
Apparently his covers didn't help much either.
No, apparently not. He had them on wrong.
That's right. They were inside out. They were inside out. If he had the right side out, he would have been fine. That's terrible. That is so terrible. Could you imagine? That's not going to help you. Oh my God. Yeah, that's the end of my list, brother.
Right on. Okay.
But I can look at these other lists. So how you guys doing in the chat room? Are you enjoying this evening's broadcast? Don, you'll have to let me know what they say.
Yeah, I actually got sidetracked, but I'm working on it.
Oh, I hope you guys are. It's always fun. And in the in-between, the reason that we do this show on Wednesdays, one, it gives you guys a chance to see us do our thing, which I don't know if it's fun or not. Sometimes
I enjoy it.
I do too. I think it's fun for me too, and it just makes it feel a little more engaging. I wish we could see all the people listening though. That'd be awesome if we could look out onto a screen and see everyone that's paying attention.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that'd be even cooler. But at least you guys get a chance to see us do what it is we do, and sometimes we do well, and sometimes we don't do well. But we always have fun.
So you guys sit around going, "What the hell are they doing now?"
It's like, oh, I thought he'd have black hair. Oh, I didn't think he'd look like that. But now you know what we look like. So,
Pixie says it's all good. They love us.
Oh, good. It's good to be loved. But thanks for tuning in and being a part of it. We're at about the hour and 17 minutes in, roughly, or hour 15, I guess, because we started a couple minutes after 7, didn't we?
Yeah, we sure did.
Yep. So I'm going to find another list in the meantime.
Finding lists.
Don's going to sing the Finding List song.
Finding lists. Well, it could be the song that never ends.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that one? Okay.
No, ever. Never on this show do that one. But you can read another story if you'd like.
Sure. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, here's another one. Well, let's read that one about the Buddhist monk. So,
Please, yeah.
Children who seem to remember past lives as monks. Details are verified. Dr. Haraldsson, Professor Emeritus at the University of Iceland, so I'm going to have a problem with this one, has examined cases of children who seem to remember their past lives. In some of the cases, the children remember living as Buddhist monks. Furthermore, in some of these cases, the memories were recorded right after the children recalled them without time elapsing in which the memories could be distorted. And they seem to correspond to historical information about real monks who had actually died. So let's go ahead and jump to this story here. Oh boy. Dumita Bandara Ratnayake was born in 1984 in mountainous rural areas of Sri Lanka. Some of the details he reports about his past life when he began to talk about it at around the age of 3 include he had been a senior monk at a temple that was 16 miles from his current hometown. He had a pain in his chest and fell, then he died. He used the word, oh boy, which is only used for the death of a monk. Okay, so it's apawathanuna. He owned a red car. He taught apprentice monks. He had an elephant. He had a friend in the Matvala temple he used to visit. He had a money bag and a radio. He had a money bag and a radio he wanted back. His mother was embarrassed to report this because they're not items considered appropriate for monks to possess. Gotcha. He displayed no interest in playing with other children, only in becoming a monk. He recited Buddhist stanzas in the ancient language of is it Sinhalese? Buddhism?
Sinhalese.
Only used and learned by monks. He lived his life like a monk, carrying his clothes the way monks do, attending temple and placing flowers there in the Buddhist fashion and displaying similar behaviors. This permeated his life. He was calm, serene, and detached. He told his mother she shouldn't touch his hands. Women are not supposed to touch the hands of monks. A local monk, whom Haraldson interviewed in addition to the boy's family members, had observed the boy's behavior and felt his parents could not have taught him these behaviors. Says, did his memories match that of a real monk's life? I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this name either. I'm sure that the title is venerated. I'm just going to say Gunapanyana.
Good enough.
Okay. Seemed to be the only deceased monk who fit the boy's description. According to the memories of other monks who knew him, he owned a red and perhaps reddish-brown car. He died of a heart attack. He preached frequently. Not all monks preached. Some spent more time in meditation. No one knew if he owned an elephant at some point in his life, but the chief disciple of venerated Gunapana had caught an elephant and brought it to his home village, where he was a frequent visitor. He had shown particular interest in the elephant, which died shortly before he died himself. He did have a radio, but he was only one of several possible monks Haraldson had narrowed down the search to, who had something resembling a radio, a gramophone. It's possible that the child did not know how to describe a gramophone as anything other than a radio. As the venerated Gunapanana was particularly fond of music. He remembered it as he was remembered as a virtuous monk who strictly observed the rules. All of these facts seem to correlate to the boy's behavior and personality traits, as well as his memories. Haraldson thought it unlikely the boy learned any of this from his family or others he came into contact with. For example, though, there was a slight chance he may have learned the religious stanzas from the radio, as they were broadcast very early in the mornings. Locals told Haraldson that no other children they have known learned the stanzas in the ancient tongue, and it's extremely unusual. So there you go.
Wow. That's wild. That is wild. That is cool, though. All right, I found another list.
Here we go.
Here we go. It's 13 real-life ghost encounters that will have you terrified of falling asleep tonight. So, this is from Thought Catalog as well. So, let's see just how true. Thank you. That's nice. I just got a message, so I had to respond to that. This one is called The Time Grandma Came to Say Goodbye. My paternal grandmother died when I was 6. I lived in New York. She lived in Pennsylvania. I met her maybe twice. I was 6 years old, asleep in bed one night, and for whatever reason, I woke up and walked into my parents' bedroom. My father had an easy chair in one corner for reading. I sat in the chair. On the opposite wall was my father's closet. It opened, and Grandma came out and stood about 6 feet away. I just wanted to say goodbye, she said, smiled, waved, and turned back and walked back into the closet, closing the door behind her. I went back to my room. About 2 hours later, about 6 a.m., the phone rings. It was a call from Pennsylvania that Grandma Catherine had died in her sleep. My mother came to wake me up to tell me, and I said, I know. What do you mean? She came to say goodbye last night. She made me repeat the story 3 times and then told me never, ever tell my father that story.
What?
And I never did.
Okay.
Wow. Very cool story, though. I wonder why the closet, though. I'm just going to go in here.
just gonna stand here, and you guys.
This
can
is where
just
I'll
find
be
me.
between the shirts if you need me. This is called You Didn't Hear That Little Girl Singing?
No,
Not you specifically.
Oh.
It's just what the story's called.
sorry.
This happened my senior year of college, Christmas break 2006. I worked for a professor that asked me to house/dog sit for him while he was out of town to see the bowl game that we were in. He was gone for 3 days and had a huge piece of land in the middle of nowhere. I invited my girlfriend at the time, and he had horses and fishing and a gator to ride around on. Not an alligator, but a side-by-side sport vehicle,
Right.
etc., etc. So the first 2 nights went down with no incident, but the last night his little foofy dog was having a fit. She keeps barking at the back door. At first we blow it off, but decide to lock the dog in case of a coyote or something. After a while we start to get a little creeped out. I keep saying, it's probably an animal and we'll be fine. My girlfriend, not too bright, it says, wants to go investigate and see what's outside. So I lock the door behind her. Just kidding. She goes outside and says she saw something small and gray, probably a coyote, and it ran off. So just an animal, no worries. By this time, we're pretty spooked. The dog now starts barking at the window on the other side of the house. We're still trying to ignore it, but a little worried. We decide to get into bed, awkward silence, and then I hear it. It sounds like a little girl singing in a soft, eerie lullaby. I don't say anything, hoping that my mind is playing tricks on me. My girlfriend says, let's get the hell out of here. And I say, why? She says, you didn't hear that little girl singing? Okay, let's get the hell out of here. We got the hell out. I even called someone to talk to me while we walked out to my car. Next morning, went to clean up the house and such. Most scared I've ever been, ever. I don't know. I guess that's creepy. Unless she was, I don't know. This is called Get Out. Not really. Get out. So this happened last summer, 2 summers ago now, and we have an old Mercury Grand Marquis that my dad had wanted to buy for years. The owner would never sell it, even though it was just left sitting there. After he died, his daughter sold it to us for pretty cheap because she knew how bad my dad had wanted it. One day I had drove it to my friend's house on a rainy day to play some Smash Brothers. I left at 10 p.m. that night, and it had stopped raining, and I had to drive my friend home rather. So this car's radio didn't work, and it would be only static if it was on at all. Well, I turned down my friend's road, and when I turned, I heard someone say, "Get out." I know it wasn't my friend because he was talking to me, so we continued the conversation, and I got to his house about 5 minutes later. When we got there, I asked him if him is what it says. I asked him if he had heard something weird when we turned onto the road, and he said he heard the exact same thing I did, and I was freaked the hell out. This sounds like such a made-up story, but I really wish it was. Safe to say I haven't driven that car since.
So is the car saying,
Yeah.
oh boy.
The territory of Stephen King.
Yes, exactly.
This is called Playing Hide and Seek with Allie. I still have fresh memories of this. When I was very young, about 3 or 4, I remember having a friend named Allie. Allie lived with me, and I would play hide and seek with her in the backyard. Allie was a year older than me. Allie loved my mom, but wouldn't stay long enough to meet her. My mom didn't believe I had a friend named Allie. I kept telling her, and my mom first got a very white face and told me to stop, and Allie isn't real. Well, one night Allie told me she had to leave, and so she did. Never heard from her again. Fast forward to when I was 16, and Mom told me that before I was born, I had a sister named Allie, and she had passed away due to complications. IDR.
I don't remember.
I don't remember what the problem was. Something about her lungs, I think. My mom tells me that it was probably all a coincidence since a divorce was going on during that time and I wanted a friend. But I still remember everything about Allie, and I refuse to believe it was all pretend. Oh, that's cool. This one is, I forgot to tell you about George.
or gosh.
Can't
Oh,
wait to
boy.
see how this works out. I worked the graveyard shift in a hospital kitchen about 5 years ago.
It's a graveyard shift.
Yeah, well,
In a hospital kitchen.
I used to love working graveyards. I
Uh-huh.
really did. Not working in graveyards, but the graveyard shift. I worked 10 at night till 6 in the morning for a number of years, and I really enjoyed it. No, you didn't?
No, I hated it.
Oh,
I hated it.
I always like staying up all night. I guess it's just me. But before the kitchen was renovated a few years prior, our dish room used to be a part of the morgue.
Awesome.
Great setting, folks. Here we go. While I was training, I'd frequently feel like someone was watching me, especially when I crossed into that part of the hallway. Every time I went into the dish room, something would be moved, turned over, or missing. Assuming it was my coworker, I didn't think anything of it. About a week later, my coworker leaves, and I'm left on my own. Every night, I would hear carts being moved around, dishes being put away, and silverware rattling. If I would leave for a minute, I'd get back and my radio would be switched to a different station. It got to the point where I was terrified to come to work every night. I called my old coworker and told her what was going on, and she calmly said, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about George." Apparently George was a nurse/medical examiner who had a stroke and died while at work.
Nice.
He was in his 50s, I was told. From then on, everything actually went quite well. I introduced myself to George and asked him to please keep it down, and as long as I said hi to him as soon as I started work, he didn't seem to want to bother me anymore. It took us a little while to find a radio station we could agree on, but we worked harmoniously after that. When I left the job a year later, I made sure I told the girl that replaced me. That's pretty awesome. I like that. I really, really like that story because, I really think these things are around. They're just around. So, what if you just show them a decency, show them a common courtesy like you would anybody else,
Sure.
and just say, "Look, nice to meet you. I'm here. Let's, work together. Let's get along. If you don't like the station, help me figure out what we can both listen to." Things like that. I think creating a dialogue and creating an atmosphere of respect, because I think a lot of times these things aren't malicious. They just get tired of people, not treating them
With respect.
with anything, just, not even acknowledging, because I think that's the most damaging thing is that they're there and they want to be, respected like anybody else would. And so I think to treat them with a modicum of respect and with a modicum of decency would go a hell of a long way. And let's face it, there's worse things to have on your side than a ghost.
That's true.
I mean, that'd be brilliant. Sorry, that was Neffenheimer. I do apologize. I never try to swear on the radio, but this is a live stream, so all bets are off. But I do still try to keep it clean. My apologies if I offended anybody. So,
I didn't even hear it.
didn't you? I kind of mumbled it, and then I realized what I just said and went, "Don't kill again." Yeah, sorry about that. So this one's called "Let's Sing Happy Birthday to the Ghost." We moved into a new house a few months ago. As we were in the process of purchasing the house, the renter who was living in it died unexpectedly of natural causes in his mid-40s. Wow, that's very young. He died right in the middle of the living room. Wow, that's not a good place to die. Shortly after we move into the house, and almost immediately, our 2-year-old daughter starts talking about the ghost that lives in our house. Let's be real here. She is 2. 2-year-olds are very impressionable. Halloween had recently passed, and she had this Halloween-themed picture book, and she loved to read. So it's entirely possible that all this talk of ghosts was just coming from looking through that book on a regular basis. Still, she was always telling us about the ghost that was in her playhouse in the basement, or that the ghost was on the stairs, or that the ghost was standing in the corner. She never seemed to be afraid of the ghost and considered him to be her friend. So I wasn't all that concerned, even if there really was a ghost haunting our house. If he's nice and a helpful ghost, it certainly could be a lot worse. Wow, is that really spooky? I just said those words. Right?
Yep.
That's just bizarre. Okay, the chills are over. Okay. I just literally said that very same thing. That's creepy. All right. Apparently I am scripted, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't even know it.
This is pre-scripted.
Yeah. I would often tell the ghost that he was welcome to stay if he wanted to, but he was also welcome to go if that would make him happier. I was about 30 to 70 on the ghost being real, and she could see and talk to him versus the ghost being just her imagination fueled by the Halloween book. Until one day, we were going out to the car to go to daycare in the morning. It was still dark out and rainy. My daughter told me that the ghost was on the back deck and that she told me that today was the ghost's birthday and she wanted to sing him happy birthday. Once again, I mostly disregarded what she was saying as she is birthday obsessed and has in the past made us sing happy birthday to Mickey Mouse, a bowl of fruit snacks, and the bathroom. So we sang and wished the ghost a happy birthday and went on with our lives. Later that day, out of pure curiosity, I looked up the obituary of the man who had died in our house. And wouldn't you know it, it was his birthday.
Nice.
Very cool. That is so creepy. I said those exact words just moments before, and I swear to you, I have not read this article ever. Wow. Huh. I don't recall reading this article ever, unless, it might be something that's somewhere in my subconscious that maybe I have. As I said, these stories appear all over the place on the internet, so it's not impossible that I might have. So I will put it out there that it's possible. But it felt like my own thought. That's what's weird. It didn't feel like I was ripping it off.
It manifested on the screen before you.
Yeah, manifested in my head before I read it. But anyway. The man that comes and talks to us at night until we fall asleep. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this article is dated December of 2017. So I know I haven't read it this month. So,
Or last month, for that matter.
well, yeah, which would be even creepier if I read it before it was released. But anyway, I'm just working what I got here. So the man that comes and talks to us at night until we fall asleep. I have 4 little cousins who never got to meet my grandfather. He passed before we were born. One morning, they ran downstairs for breakfast, as they usually do. As my uncle was getting their food ready, one pointed to the fridge and said, "That's him." My uncle, not thinking much of it, said, "Who?" and looked over. They were pointing at a picture of my grandfather that they never got to meet. My cousin responded, "That man comes and talks to us at night until we fall asleep sometimes." Wow, that's the whole story.
Wow.
Very cool, though. I love the idea of that, that family will
Stick around.
stick around, keep an eye out. That's a beautiful idea. I don't know. I don't, I just think that's awesome. That's the power of love, right? That someone would love their family so much that they just kind of stick around, make sure everything's okay. I don't know.
No, Pixie, it's not.
What?
Just leave it there. Just letting Pixie know it's not.
Okay. I won't get into it then. I understand your urging, and I'll leave it alone. This one is, please tell the little girl to get out of my room. Wow. I work night shift as a palliative care RN in a very big, very old nursing home. It's important to note that this home and the religious organization that ran it are currently part of the Royal Inquiry to the institutional response to the abuse of children. My God, that's huge title. This is currently part of the Royal Inquiry into the institutional response to the abuse of children. I don't even know what all that meant, but I just read it as I see it, ladies and gentlemen. The nurses that worked there for 30 plus years used to delight in telling younger staff that when it was used as a children's home, they used to bury children that died in the rose garden. This old rose garden was apparently under a newer wing of the home. At least 4 times in my 2 years of working there, we would have elderly, close-to-death patients wake, totally lucid in the dead of the night, and ask us, "Please tell the little girl to get out of my room," or "Please get that little boy out of the corner. He's looking at me." Being in this huge, dark, old, creepy building that had a very awful history, and then that happening, screw that. I would never do my rounds alone when it happened. It was terrifying. It made my blood run cold, and I'd get a friend to work with me for the rest of the night. I was not the only person this happened to either. It was a regular occurrence. Wow. This demon lady literally got inches from my face. Well, this one should be interesting. Merry Christmas. Do you feel that Christmas cheer in the air?
I do.
It's starting to feel a little more like Halloween. All right. I think we need to dig up some Christmas stories for Saturday. What do you think?
I think I've been looking and I haven't found much, but I'll continue to look.
We will find some for you guys. We got to set up Christmas with a little love and promise and hope and, not with these dark stories. Merry Christmas, everybody. And the demon was right in my face. All right. Know how when you die, you see the white light? And some report the lady or whatever that guides you through. I've never heard of the lady, but okay. So I'm lying in bed, wake up, heart racing, died in a dream, so I woke up. Except I can't move. My body's frozen. I see at the foot of my bed this almost demon-like lady in a white dress walking toward me. I thought, well, I'm dead. Must have had a heart attack in my sleep. This demon lady literally got inches from my face. Then I could move and it was over. That would be creepy. That would be creepy. Who was turning the doorknob is the next one. And then I'll be pretty much through this. No, I got 3 more after this. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Still a little froggy here in the portal. As it's cold season here in the portal, apparently. But I don't think I have a cold. I think it's just the shoveling twice yesterday. Is being out in that cold was...
Do you know how much ibuprofen I've taken in the last 24 hours? Oh, my God. Everything hurts. Everything.
I know. I'm feeling you, brother. Who was turning the doorknob? When my family hit hard times, we had to move into a small house where our uncle had recently shot and killed himself. Wow. What a great opener. He had done this because of his depression after his wife had overdosed on pills. Wow. And died the summer before. It all happened so quickly that when we moved in, there was still a bit of blood in one of the rooms.
Oh.
Wow. But on the 3rd or 4th night of living there, my sister and I, who were sharing a room in the tiny house, were awake in our room playing video games at around 1 or 2 in the morning when someone knocks at our door. We didn't think anything of it and shouted for whoever was outside the door to come in. No answer. Another knock. We stop and stare at the door, and another knock comes. The doorknob does a full rotation and then snaps back as if someone turned it and then let go very quickly. I get up and open up the door to expect to see one of my 2 other sisters or my mother, the only other people in the house, and I opened up the door and stared into an empty hallway. I walked down the hall and peeked into the other bedroom. My 2 younger sisters and my mother were both fast asleep. Yikes. Wow. Oh, geez. This one would be horrible. The disembodied head of a woman floating above my bed at night. Oh, no. That's just rotten. If an entity, a spirit can do that, that is just rotten. They don't like you at that point. If they're going to do that, it's like, I'm just a head. Deal with this. Enjoy the therapy. Oh, my God. The disembodied head of a woman floating above my bed at night. Lived in this dark, creepy-ish rental house from 4th to 7th grade. I don't know if the house was actually haunted or not, but my mom, my sister, and me always got those creepy feelings around various areas of the house, particularly in the closet and bathroom in the master bedroom. Anyways, my sister, who was a little bit younger than me, would tell me about how she saw the disembodied head of a woman floating above my bed at night, looking at me sleep. I admit, at night, I would get the eerie feeling that something I couldn't see was watching me. But trying to be the tough 9-year-old, I brushed off what she was saying as the ramblings of a 7-year-old. Nothing really happened for months, and I even forgot about what my sister said about the disembodied head until one night I was in a particular deep sleep when I suddenly heard the blood-curdling scream of a woman right outside my ear. At first I thought it was my mom or sister messing with me, but then when I glanced across the room, I saw my sister sleeping in bed, and went to my mom's room and saw her sleeping as well. And there is no other woman in the house that could have possibly done it. That's terrible. At least he didn't see the head. I guess that's not so bad, but the sister did, and that's all kinds of creepy. I'll never forget the sound of that lock turning by itself is number 12. This is a brief account of an experience I had almost a year ago in the warehouse where I work alone. No one I've told has believed me, but perhaps you all will. I work in a warehouse that my father purchased. He bought it for 25% of its cost from a farmer who seemed very excited to be rid of it.
In this list, I can't imagine why.
Yeah. Well, letting it go real cheap. Ka-ching. It is the middle of the Mennonite country with no neighbors for a half a mile around. Look out the window, you see cornfields and scraggly trees. Cell service? Forget about it. I work here alone, painting and preparing the front office portion for eventual functionality. To get to the front office, you must go through the hallway from the main warehouse into the secondary office, and then through another door into the front. I frequently hear bumps and thuds and occasionally will go into the warehouse and feel air movement, but I've always attributed it to drafts and animal life in the roof. The only thing that has ever made me uneasy about the building is the fact that all of the doors' locks are reversed. Whoever installed those locks didn't intend to keep people out. They intended to keep something in.
Oh.
Ew. I was in the front office when I began to hear the thudding. I ignored it and continued to apply masking tape to the door I was working on, but this time it was accompanied by a screeching sound. Not loud, but audible. I was freaked out, but convinced myself that it was just a pissed-off raccoon or squirrel that had found its way inside. I continued working until I heard the slam. The door to the secondary office had been open. It sounded like it had violently slammed shut. I peeked around the corner and saw that I was right. The secondary door was now closed. I tried to logic it through my head that a strong draft had sucked it closed, though I knew that there was no such draft. The thudding began again, close this time. I've never been able to put a proximity on it, but now it sounded like it was right on the other side of the door. I froze, unsure of what was happening. My eyes locked on the door handle, which began to turn. The door disengaged its latch and slowly swung open, wider, wider. Nothing there. Nothing visible, no air movement, just quiet. So quiet. A quiet that seemed to overwhelm me with its presence, a quiet so thick I couldn't breathe. The quiet was shattered when the screech came again. This time it was clearly human, pained, angered, and emanating from the main warehouse. The door slammed that entirely broke my frozen, fearful state. I ran. I got to my car and drove until I was in cell range to call my father. He didn't believe anything about the doors closing, but agreed that the building had something weird about it. He told me he'd be right out. Fast forward half an hour, my dad and I met up and drove back to the warehouse. I showed him the door that slammed, showing him that it was separated from both the front office and the main warehouse, so no draft could have closed it. I told him that about the thuds and the screeching and the sudden quiet that overcame the building. He decided that we should check the main warehouse. Emboldened by his presence, I led the way. Something you should know about this warehouse: it was formerly a furniture manufacturing place owned by a Mennonite farmer. They made handmade chairs, tables, etc. Because of all the cutting that went on, the floor was thickly coated with dust. We walked into the warehouse and saw nothing out of the ordinary. The dust was untouched. The doors were closed. Windows were locked. The only thing out of the ordinary was one of the hanging fluorescent light fixtures. It was hanging askew and swaying slightly. Insisting that we take a look at the mount to ensure it didn't just break loose, my dad grabbed a stepladder. He supported it while I climbed up and grabbed the swinging light. I looked on top of the light and saw a handprint, a single, fresh, inhumanly large handprint. No footprint in the dust around the light, no signs of a presence. I climbed down and switched places with my father. He saw it and said, "What the hell? There's been no one in here for years." He climbed down and told me he'd been suspicious of someone breaking in and stealing parts from the warehouse light system. He couldn't believe me that this wasn't human. That something wasn't right here. The last thing he said was, "Nothing is in here. Next time, just go back to work." And then, as if to show its presence, the thud returned. This time it wasn't just a thud, but more of an earthquake. The entire building felt like it moved. The heartbeat-like thud was then overlaid by the screech, the awful, awful screech. It felt like it was coming from the walls themselves. We ran, and I haven't returned. My father hired someone to finish the job and has since moved into the office. He's heard the thudding, but thus far nothing has happened further. What actually happened, I don't know, nor do I ever care to know. What I do know is that there is something paranormal in that building, and the man who sold it to us knew.
You think?
I'll never forget the sound of that lock turning by itself or the feeling of the deafening silence. Wow, that's horrible. The Ghost in Grandma's House is the last one on this list.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma lives in a very beautiful old house in New Jersey. It's pre-Civil War and was built around 1820. If my memory serves correctly, for years my grandpa would tell stories to me and my cousins about the ghost that lives there. And my dad would always get very mad at him because he didn't want us to be scared. Now, my dad is the former Marine of 12 years, and there's not much that scares him. He's been to some pretty bad places and done some dangerous things, but he refuses to be in that house alone. If everyone goes out to get a pizza, he won't stay at the house, even if we'll only be gone 20 minutes. I've never seen the ghost myself, but of course this gives me the creeps. However, there's a few people in my family who have. One night, my grandpa, who had very bad vision, was walking up the stairs. He said he was startled by something, and he realized he was actually inside the ghost, as if he had walked straight through her. The ghost seemed startled too and ran away.
The ghost ran away.
The ghost's like, hey, I usually get dinner first. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
No. Oh, okay.
When my cousins were born, my aunt took them over to my grandma's house, and my grandma was holding one of them, just a little baby, when the ghost appeared. She said it was a woman, and it was holding a baby. She was convinced that the ghost was trying to tell her, look, I also have a baby just like you. And the next one is, after my grandpa died, my dad slept in the house with just my grandma there for a few nights. He said he was absolutely positive something weird was going to happen, and he barely slept. I don't really know if he saw anything, but I would have been spooked out of my mind. And the last one is my aunt forgot her keys or something one time and had to run back to the house alone. She saw a face peering out of the window, even though nobody was home. It was that of a woman, just like what my grandma had seen. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right. That's
Dun, 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 dun.
a fine group of stories, ladies and gentlemen, all for your listening pleasure here on the Paranormal Portal. And Don,
Yes, sir.
did you have another one to read?
Sure.
I'll let you close the stories.
Sure. All right. Let's do. No, not that one. No, not that one. Well, I have so many stories open. Oh, hey. Here we go. Four-year-old remembers past life in Hollywood, schmoozing with stars. Details verified.
Cool.
When he was 4 years old, Ryan started talking about going home to Hollywood. He often directed imaginary movies, yelling action. His parents didn't think much of it until his nightmares started. He would wake up grabbing his chest and saying he couldn't breathe. He said that when he was in Hollywood, his heart had exploded. Wrote Jim Tucker, MD, a leading... Oh, we've already... Gosh, he's written a lot of these. Okay, so he's the research psychiatrist from University of Virginia that I read in a previous story.
Sure.
So these are all related in that
Must
sense.
be part of his studies.
Yeah. So Ryan's mother, Cindy, contacted Dr. Tucker as she sought to alleviate the boy's distress. She was predisposed to believe in reincarnation. She was raised Baptist, and her husband was the son of a church minister. But her son continued to talk of other life and other family in Hollywood, spurred her to seek help wherever it may be found. Ryan would often cry and ask Cindy to take him home to his family in Hollywood. She got some books on Hollywood from the library to see if Ryan would recognize anything. In one of the books, he saw a picture from a 1932 movie, Night After Night, that triggered a stream of memories that were later verified. He said he was friends with a man in the movie who was a cowboy and also an actor in a cigarette commercial. Gordon Nance was an actor in this movie, and he starred in westerns and was a spokesman for Viceroy cigarettes. Ryan pointed to the man in photo and said, "Hey, Mama, that's George. We did a picture together. And Mama, that guy's me. I found me." The man Ryan identified as George was indeed named George Raft. He was an actor primarily in the 30s and 40s gangster movies.
Mm.
The man Ryan identified as himself wasn't named in the book, but Dr. Tucker later helped the family discover the man's identity. His name was Marty Martyn.
Marty Martin, right?
Yes, actually, that's exactly what it is. Martyn. That's what threw me off. So Marty Martin. Martin had a minor role in the movie. Ryan remembers a scene from the movie involving a closet full of guns. There was such a scene in this movie. He remembered other details of Martin's life: the color of his cars, his wife's car, his mother's curly brown hair, a sister 3 years younger than him, his daughter's pigtails, his time tap dancing on Broadway. Ryan once asked his mother for a true aid. Before correcting himself, he said Dr. Pepper. As it turns out, True Aid was a soft drink available in the 40s to the early 70s, well before Ryan's time.
Wow.
He saw a photo of Marilyn Monroe and called her that Mary lady. He said he tried to talk to her at a party and one of those studio guys punched him. They wouldn't let him get close enough to talk to her. He saw a picture of Rita Hayworth and said she used to make Coke floats. Nostalgia and longer characterization of his talk of Hollywood lifestyle and of traveling the world, waltzing on ships with pretty ladies and glamorous pastimes. He once said, "I can't live in these conditions. My home was much better." Testing the memories further, Dr. Tucker's predecessor at the University of Virginia, the late Ian Stevenson, tested many cases of children who remembered past lives in Asia. Tucker's more focused on American cases. Let's get Dr. Tucker showed Ryan 4 photos of women in only which Martin had known it was his wife. Ryan showed no recognition of the other photos and pointed to the photo of Martin's wife and said she was familiar. Dr. Tucker showed him 4 men. Ryan pointed to one and said, "That's Senator 5." Ryan said he had met the senator in New York. The photo was of Senator Ives. Dr. Tucker said the child may have mixed up Ives and Fives, who was a U.S. Senator for New York in the 40s and 50s. Martin had known Ives and none of the other 3 men in the photo. Dr. Tucker gave Ryan 4 names to look at. Ryan was 6 years old at the time and he could read names: John Johnson, Willie Wilson, Marty Martin, and Robert Robertson. Ryan chose Marty Martin. Dr. Tucker conducted similar tests. Meeting Martin's daughter. Sometimes facing the family of previous lives can help children let go of the previous life and the associated distress. The children's memories may have been validated, but they also have seemed to have changed. Though Ryan had long expressed intense longing for what he remembered to be his old life, at a certain point he said, "I just want to be me, not the old me." When he was preparing to meet Martin's daughter and he was told of her age, he got angry. "She got old. Why didn't she wait for me?" Ryan was reserved during the meeting. He later said, "Same face, but she didn't wait on me. She changed. Her energy changed. I don't want to go back. I don't want to always keep this family." Why he returned. Many of the children who seemed to recall past lives died in distress. Ryan said the reason he had come back was that he didn't spend enough time with his family in his last life. He worked so much that he had forgot to love the most important things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it says, Ryan remembers from his mother's pregnancy the time before birth. Cindy wanted a daughter. Her husband already had 2 children, and they decided to only have 1 more. Ryan asked her one day why she thought he was going to be a girl, and Cindy asked him how he knew that she was hoping for a girl or expected a girl. He replied that no one had told him. He had seen it from heaven. "This doctor guy did a test. I told you I was a boy. You got mad and said he was wrong. You just knew that I was going to be a girl. Mommy, it's Daddy's birthday. You went to the restaurant afterwards to eat, and you cried for a very long time." This was all as it had happened. Cindy said she really regretted her behavior that day and couldn't imagine she would have told Ryan about it or talked about it for him to overhear. So there you go.
That's really cool. I had heard of that story before.
Oh, had you?
Yeah. No, it was kind of funny. Is as you're
Yeah, because I was like, how did you know it was Marty Martin?
yeah, I'm sure I've heard it before.
Here he goes with his precognition.
I'm just everywhere. Actually, I was at the in Kona, Hawaii, a couple years ago, and happened to be staying at the same hotel as Megan Fox and her husband Brian Austin Green.
Oh, okay.
And I was in the swimming pool as her son was in the pool. He's a cute kid. She was sunbathing right off to the side and stuff. She's a very stunning woman in person as well. But her son was in the pool, and it's funny because he must spend time around the sets because all he was doing was playing with his friends, making movies and action, and he'd do that in the pool, and they were doing their makeup scenes and stuff. It was really cute. And, that's what it harkened in my mind when you're reading. It's like, oh, I remember when Megan Fox's kid was swimming in the pool there. But it was a neat experience, I guess. But I'm not really like, ooh, celebrity, I don't really care either way. But I thought that was pretty adorable that the kid was kind of mirroring the life he had seen his at least his mom. I'm Brian Austin Green. I don't know. I guess he's directing or something or whatever. But
when he was on 90210, it wasn't his character the one. No, it was his best friend on the show that killed himself.
Oh, really?
On the show, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, interesting. But anyway,
I never watched it.
I never did either. I think the only thing I recall about that was that where Luke Perry got his start, right?
Yes.
And then I thought that Shannon Doherty was an absolute babe, but
yeah, and then you found out she was like so much worse.
Well, I mean, she was a beautiful lady, but it turns out that her attitude, of course, wasn't, and that's what's so tragic is people have such potential and then they just fall in love with themselves or their own legend, and I've experienced that in my own life of people that I know that fall in love with their own legend, and they just become so enamored with the idea of themselves that they forget everything that's important.
The Kardashians?
No, I don't know that. I don't care. I mean, God bless them. I don't care either way. I'm not like, oh, screw those people. Like whatever. People deserve to live their lives and do whatever. But it's unfortunate the way some people like Shannon Doherty would just change and become so in love with her own self that she just almost became inhuman there for a while, is what I understand.
Yeah.
But anyway, this isn't Hollywood gossip. It's the Paranormal Portal. And I think we're at the 9 o'clock hour.
Yes,
so
we are.
What are you thinking, Mr. Longbeard?
You know what? It's been a long week for me. It really, really has.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know. You get those shoveling muscles.
Yeah, well, the lack of those shoveling muscles, apparently.
Yeah.
I only use them once a year, for 3 months straight.
Right. Yeah, I know.
And the worst part is I've got my little tractor, it's got the little blade on it, but I told you what happened, I put the chains on it, the chain fell off one side, that was fine.
Right.
But then that shear pin broke off, and that was pretty much the end of that.
Yeah, I know.
It's like back to the shovel.
I know, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that's the Paranormal Portal stream for this week. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. And thank you so much for joining us and being a part of it, and for loving and supporting us as much as you have. And continue to spread the word, please. Continue to make it bigger and better and greater than it is. You guys are amazing, and we love you bunches, and we will be back. I'll be back on Friday night. My special guest will be Mr. Christopher Everhard of the Enigma Channel. He'll be joining me to talk about the Enigma Channel and stuff, and then Mr. Longbeard will be joining me on Saturday, so don't miss it on TFRlive.com at 10 p.m. Pacific both nights. So love you all. Be good, be kind, and we'll see you soon.
Next week. Bye-bye.
This week.
This week. Oh.
Yeah, it's like Friday's coming,
I've had such a hard week.
Next week is Christmas, of course.
Oh,
So.
that's right. Oh, yeah.
Woo.
Control